Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to be going through my espresso or my latte making procedure. This video is going to involve a fair amount of moving the camera around, but this is intended to show you as a visitor to my home how you're supposed to use the coffee maker and actually create coffee for yourself. So I'm going to have to be doing a lot of this with one hand, so bear with me. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to place the phone here, and I'm going to just be talking through my procedure. Okay. So this little cup right here is what we're going to use to measure out our coffee. So I'm going to put it here on top of the scale. I'm going to make sure that the weight reads 0.0 grams per milliliter, and it's 0. I'm then going to take my coffee beans. In this case, we are using a medium roast from Little Victories Coffee, and it's supposed to taste of apple jam, allspice, and vanilla syrup. So let's put that to the test. Oh. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take the beans and you're going to measure out 15 grams of beans. Now, the reason we're using 15 grams is because this is a medium roast. And I was finding it a little bit difficult to get good flavor profiles with the standard 18 grams of beans. We're also using the adaptive profile for the decent espresso machine, and that is the recommended amount. So once you've measured out 15 grams, the next step is to, of course, grind your beans. You're going to take this, and actually, sorry, before you start, you need to click the screen on the machine so that it turns on. As you can see, it's already preheated here. Okay, so I'm going to pop the lid on the machine, take the beans, and I'm just going to put them straight in. So normally you'd have to put a bit of spritz of water into it, but I don't actually think it's necessary for these beans. And turn on the grinder. I'm going to put a lid on this, and then I'm going to open the grinder. So what I'm looking for is to get that same 15 grams that I put in out of the machine. And as you can see, we didn't get 15, so we got to give this top thing a bit of a smack. So we give this a few nice solid smacks, smack, smack, smack. And if you give it enough very nice, very solid smacks, you should get all 15 grams out of the machine. Sweet. All right, so you have now ground your coffee, so turn off the grinder, close the screen on the release, and now we're going to be going through puck prep. Move my headphones. All right, so puck prep. So the first thing you want to do is you want to take the portafilter out of the machine. You do that by spinning the portafilter out by turning it clockwise. Now, I like putting these little screens, one at the bottom of the portafilter. Sweet. The portafilter is a little wet, which is nice. So my screen is a little pre-moistened. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ground beans, I'm going to turn my portafilter upside down on top of this, and I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to take the beans out of my little grinder cup. Now, one thing that I want you to now notice is if you get real close to coffee, you see how it's all clumped up. So we need to break up those clumps in order to get a nice shot of espresso. Now, thankfully, I had a good friend of mine, Alex, shout out to you, 3D print me this really cool device, which actually you can spin it and you see these little needles will traverse through the coffee and actually break up all these little clumps. So I'm just going to take this, make sure my grounds are kind of distributed evenly, and then I'm going to put this on top. You see how there's two little slots that match up with the edges of the portafilter? I'm just going to put this on top, and I'm going to give this a few spins. I think you're supposed to spin it like 10 times all the way around in order to get through all of it, but just spend like 10 or 20 seconds giving it some nice spinny business. All right, So once you have finished spinning it, this is what your coffee should look like. You see how it's fairly well distributed. There's fewer clumps. And what we're going to do now is we're going to use this device, which is a distributor. Okay. We're going to make sure that the beans are evenly distributed by spinning this here. Nice. And then we're going to take the tamp. We're going to make sure that it is completely flat. And then we're going to push down. So congratulations, once you get to this point, you have finished your puck prep. So this is what your puck should look like at this point. Nice and flat, nice and even, about 15 grams of coffee. Fantastic. All right, sweet. So for the last step, because I'm a little bit of a weirdo, I'm going to put another one of these screens on top of the puck. Great. And now I'm going to lift the portafilter and put it into the machine. Nice. So I am now going to get a cup. Probably should have done that before, but I have a nice little cup here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use a glass one, even though it's not ideal, just so that you can see. So I'm going to put 200 milliliters of milk into my latte pitcher, or my milk pitcher. So 200 milliliters of milk. Actually, let's say about 170 is enough. And the other thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to put some Splenda in it, because I have a bit of a sweet tooth, so not much. I guess it ends up being, hey, no barking, dogs. About 1.5 grams of Splenda. Hey, no barking. All right, cool. So at this point, it's actually quite simple. You're all prepared, so you come here and you make sure this is all set. Hopefully the default is what I'm having you do. You press the coffee button. So what you should be seeing is something like this. You should be seeing the espresso slowly start to come out of the bottom. And what you really want to make sure you're not seeing is any coffee like spritzing all over the place. So you can see how there's, no shots of random espresso flying in arbitrary directions, and it's all kind of coming off neatly, generally at the same speed. And as you can see, it makes a nice even cup with a lot of crema. Perfect. Now, these lines actually mean quite a bit, but the important one is this pressure line. You see how the pressure didn't quite come up fast enough at the end? So that tells us that we need a slightly finer grind. So you just move this slightly lower. This dial doesn't really mean anything, so don't worry too much about what the number is, but basically clockwise is finer, counterclockwise is coarser. All right, cool. And now for the milk, I'm going to go ahead and say that if you really want to do a good job of this, you should watch a separate video. You press the steam button, and this shouldn't take you very long. But what you're really interested in is trying to get the milk spinning. You want to incorporate air into the milk until it's at body temperature. And once it's at body temperature, you don't want to put any more air into the milk. So you lower the steam wand deeper into the milk. Again, there's lots of videos talking about the correct and proper way of doing this. And those videos are like a half hour. So I think it's beyond the scope of this to teach, but once you do that, this doesn't get hot, so you can touch it, and you should wipe any excess coffee off of here. You now have some very nice milk with hopefully no big bubbles, and then you pour your coffee in, And once you get to the end, you're feeling cute, you can do some nice latte art. And of course, I spilled because it's a long video, and of course I was gonna spill, but as you can see, very nice latte. Looks good, very tasty. So again, it's supposed to taste of apple, allspice, and vanilla. So let's taste it. Really tastes like allspice. I don't taste the apple, but I get the vanilla. This is a well dialed in shot. I'm quite happy with the results. Good job.